Hi, welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Ryan Lam and this is Brad Strawser. We have a brand new tennis segment for you this week. Fresh off Australian Open, of course, and the early start of the college season as well. Let's start off with one of the fan favorite events in the Australian Open, where American Sofia Kenin clinched the women's singles title, defeating Garbiñe Muguruza. Do you think Sofia's here to stay?
I don't, Ryan. I mean, we've seen kind of some of these things happen before with, we saw Naomi Osaka. She won two, but we haven't seen her sustain the same success. We saw it with Ostapenko back in the French in 2017. It's not to say that Kenin can't be a mainstay. I just think it's too early to say.
Yeah, I feel like she needs a little bit more time as well. But then when you compare her to the names like Ostapenko or Naomi Osaka, even Jeannie Bouchard, who fell off a cliff, like she has that resilience that really stands out, especially in this run. In the semifinals, playing against Ash Barty, hometown favorite, #1 seed, she was down 6-4 in tiebreaks, 4 points in a row to claim the first set. In the second set, won 3 games in a row. Same goes for the finals, where she dropped one set, came back with 6-2, 6-2. In the second set, she was broken early, but she stormed back to take Muguruza down. So now let's look at the men's side of things here. Novak Djokovic again. Well, 8th title, can't really escape him. Record setting at Melbourne, defeating Dominic Thiem. So what do you think about this matchup? I think this is one of the best that you can get as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, besides a Federer-Nadal addition to the rivalry, I think this was the best possible final we could see between Djokovic and Thiem. Thiem's still trying to prove himself that he can do more on the hard court or on any surface other than clay. He does have a Masters 1000 title down in Miami, but most of his success has come on clay. And Djokovic, Nick Kyrgios said a year ago, he wants to be liked so bad, but he's seen as the disruptor of Nadal, Federer, and fans are always against him. No matter if any of them are in the final, if Djokovic is there, fans tend to be against him. And he thrives on that. Yeah. So even though he wants to be liked, as long as he's the enemy, I don't see him losing.
Yeah, like he kind of plays well with that anger as well. And I feel like Dominic Thiem, he's the heir apparent. Like you never know how Federer, like how much longer Federer and Nadal and Djokovic will last. They seem like they could play into his 40s, to be honest. But Thiem should be the heir apparent just because he's the most consistent out of the next gen players. He doesn't drop out of tournaments early like Zverev or even players like Denis Shapovalov or Kyrgios. Now let's shift focus to one kind of new thing in Australian Open, where they take the tiebreak in the 5th set and replace it with the long format. And I think we now have different formats for the 5th set decider in all 4 majors. What are your thoughts on tiebreak and playing it out?
Well, we saw 9 super tiebreakers in the Australian this year, which is a good test to see how it fits. Players seem to want to do this super tiebreaker. Nobody wants to be like John Isner back in 2010 Wimbledon, playing over 3 days. Yeah. But fans still kind of like that. That kind of drew a lot of people to tennis that don't watch it normally. I think the ATP is going to push with the players. I think a 5th set tiebreaker also puts it on the players to be like, you have to play well right now. If you make one mistake, the 5th set tiebreaker is going against you. So I like the 5th set tiebreaker.
Yeah, I might be on the other side of that with you, especially with Federer Djokovic, where it's 12-12 in the Wimbledon final, and it's been going so well, and then a tiebreaker kind of disrupts the flow. I feel like the long form should be here to say, because I know it's not the SEC, but it just means more in a major, in a 5-setter, everything culminating in that. I feel like that should be kept, especially kept as a tradition. 6-4, 3-6, 6-7, 7-6, 70, 68, that's an anomaly that I have in my head apparently. So yeah, how about let's throw it over to Penn State Tennis and see what we're cooking with here.
Yeah, the men's team, they're coming off with a 1-2 record right now, but it is coming off a huge 4-3 win after being down 3-0. What are you seeing from this men's team?
Losing 3 seniors really hurt. And Constant Bastier, Ben Lieb, and Matt Gallish, those are the mainstay seniors. But then they have really, really capable young players coming in, especially freshmen. Some of them even came in January. They have been starting 2 to 3 freshmen every single match this season, and it's been working well, especially with that 4-3 win against Cleveland State. You see players like Chikaya Salo and Charles Morgan play really well despite being newer additions to the team. So I feel like this team has to kind of play into form, and that 7 match home stretch they're currently on now, I feel like that will be really, really beneficial for them.
All right, finally, we're staying at the indoor tennis center for the women. A 2-1 start so far with a home opener win against Marshall as well. Under new leadership, how do you judge the early performance this year?
I mean, yeah, it's new leadership, but then it was the assistant coach, Alex Angelescu, being elevated to the head coach role. However, I see some differences early on, especially with 1 and 2 being very, very resilient. That Gabby O'Gorman and Frederica Svar for you, and they had to pull out 3-set victories, and they did to seal the match. And I feel like the best player is Sammy Smith. She's been so solid. Led the team in singles wins last year as a junior. Now she's a senior, and she could really pick apart those 4 or 5 players. And if they come up needing her win to clinch the match, she can. Now there's a little bit of another anomaly happening in the women's match the past weekend in Frederica Svar, with the last third set tiebreak that went very, very dramatically. She was down 6-7 after a 20-shot point. Her opponent called it out, and then she was suddenly up 8-7 because, well, the ref overruled the point, and the opponent had 3 overruled points in one match. And that led to a point penalty where Frederica Svar was able to serve it out 9-7 in the tiebreak, going from losing to winning. What are your thoughts on that? Like, especially, I know you have the playing experience to understand the no linesman thing in tennis.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're playing with no linesman, having a 3-strike rule like this is beneficial for both players. You know, when you're playing back and forth and the other player misses a call, you can kind of let that go. It's hard. You're focusing on the ball. You're trying to, play well. You're playing at the collegiate level. You have to be playing at a high level. So the first one you can let go. The second one disrupts the flow. And the third one is just like, come on. So having a 3-strike rule like this, I have, no sympathy for somebody who misses 3 calls in a match. It's going to have to be a point penalty. It doesn't matter if it swings the match.
Mm-hmm. So we went from talking about the 3 straight overruled points rule into maybe talking about a little bit, tiebreaker, long form sets, and even, well, half and half first week tiebreaker, second week long form sets. We'll never know what the ATP or WTA is going to do. But thank you very much for watching. This is Brad Strawser. I'm Ryan Lam. We're here with the Tennis Talk, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.